All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the Digital Barbell Podcast. This is episode number 41. Number 41 is a highly underrated song by the Dave Matthews Band. You'll see why I say that here in a minute. But it is a great song, and for those of you who don't know, we used to be obsessed with the Dave Matthews Band. We traveled around all over the place listening to their concerts. I recorded their concerts. Spent hours and hours downloading concerts and had hundreds of CDs. We got lucky enough to sit in the front row at several of their...
Yeah, in the pit.
Down in the pit.
That was pretty exciting.
Yeah. So there you go. Now you know a little something else about us. In other news, we're not officially registered for the CrossFit Open this year, but we've been doing the workouts here at home. There's one more to go that they're going to release this coming Thursday.
So far, I'm winning.
I don't know
why. Surprise.
Is that a fact?
It's a fact.
So we both did. You definitely. No, I beat you on the first workout.
The number one, we can't. Yeah, I got confused.
There's only been 2 workouts so far.
Technically, you won on number one. I got confused on the reps, so my official score was less than yours. So sure. So we'll give you that one.
So when somebody's score is less than somebody else's, what does that mean?
I did work after my score ended, which probably equaled 2 or more than your work, but since I got confused at my reps, my official score would have ended at that 12th handstand.
And would that have been more than me?
No.
Oh, okay. All right.
Because I had this guy who was judging me, and I went and I thought it was 12 handstand walks, and it was 15. And so he just let me go on to my doubles after I finished 12. So.
He was just, wrapped up in your beauty and the curse words that were coming out of your mouth.
And then let's just talk about number 2.
All right.
I performed it on, like it's an act. I did it on Friday. He just did this yesterday on Monday.
Yeah.
6 seconds faster, me. I went 6 seconds faster.
Yeah, your the notepad where you wrote your time is out in the gym, and
but
there's some discrepancy.
I texted my friend and I said, and I looked at the time, and it was 6 seconds faster than yours.
Yeah.
As soon as I was done, I was like, I just about dying here.
So after we record this, we're going to run over to the gym and verify if that's the case or not. But anyway, there's one more to go.
Yeah.
All the workouts this year are being done with 1 dumbbell, which is pretty cool.
You don't know what they're going to announce.
That's true. It might be.
You don't know Dave Castro.
It might be run a marathon, and then neither one of us will finish. But let's get to today's podcast episode. Don't have a sponsor for you this week. Been way too busy. Well, let me throw one more announcement out there, because not everybody listens to every episode. Last week was the first week with our new employees.
Yes.
We got Haley jumping on as a nutrition coach, and we've got Christina helping with tons of other things behind the scene, everything from moving content from Instagram to our blogs, reaching out to clients, helping us just kind of stay organized and on top of everything.
It's been really great.
Yeah, she's killing it. But it's just been really good having them on. I'm really excited about the future of the company.
One more announcement.
What?
We got to go meet our godson this weekend.
Yeah.
He was just born. He was 4 days old when we got to see him.
He was really
and
cute.
Hang out with our niece.
Yeah.
So that was really fun.
He was cute.
He was so tiny.
I mean, they don't really do anything wrong at 4 days old.
No.
They're pretty easy.
Pretty easy.
Just lay there, go to the bathroom.
So tiny.
Feed them every once in a while. So this week's episode is something a little different. I've seen some other people doing this on podcasts, and we did it on one of ours with a guest that we had on a month or so ago. We're going to go through some different topics. Some of these are ones that we came up with on our own, and some of them were submitted by clients or Instagram peeps. And we're going to give our opinion on whether these things are either underrated or overrated. So there's some subjectivity in these ratings, but basically you're going to hear what our opinion on these things are by the time we get through them all. All right, so I will start out, and the first one is this underrated or overrated running for exercise? You want to take this one first?
You can go ahead. You go first on this one.
I hadn't really gave it a lot of thought, actually. I should have done that before I did. But I would say overall, this is completely overrated as far as for exercise. I think a lot of the reason people jump to running is because there's such a low barrier. You just put your shoes on, you go outside, hit the streets. But people don't really know how much to start with. They don't know how long they should do it, how often they should do it. And typically people will start out too aggressive and they'll fall off either because they thought they had to do it too much or they just feel beat up from running on pavement in the wrong kind of shoes. Whereas if they had started with something a little more conservative or even a mixture of some cardio, whether it's running or not, and some resistance training, they would stick with it longer, get better results. So it's overrated, I would say.
I agree with the overrated. And I think that's the key is the mixture. And I think a lot of people think that like, even if you're doing strength training, and even if you're doing CrossFit style workouts, there still needs to be this like, oh, I need to go out and like sweat in the streets for another hour and get some miles under my feet. When if you're really doing some adequate training, then you don't need to be doing that.
Yeah.
So
the answer isn't usually to run more.
Right.
Yeah. All right. We're going to try to keep these short because we got quite a few of them. And
all right.
Yeah. We ramble.
I don't really understand this next one. So you go. You go for this. Canceling?
Yeah. So is it underrated or overrated to eliminate genetically modified organism foods from your diet?
All right.
This is completely overrated. This is like worrying about tip of the iceberg stuff when you probably haven't mastered extreme consistency in the basics. The difference in your health is probably not whether you're eating a GMO peanut or bell pepper. It's more like, are you eating about the right number of calories per day? Are you getting enough protein? Are you exercising enough? Are you drinking enough water? Are you sleeping enough? Those are the things that are going to move the needle more than whether or not you've been GMO'd.
I completely agree. Yeah, concentrating on the bigger picture items first.
Right.
Whenever we're perfect and we're eating the right amounts of food in the right quantities, and we're getting enough sleep and we're getting enough water, and all those things are dialed in, then we can start really dialing in like more specifics.
Right.
But not until then.
Like, there's no specific client that said anything like this, but I'm thinking about somebody who's worried about whether they're eating genetically modified food, but they drink alcohol. It's like alcohol is known to be a toxin. Like your body has to kick in procedures to clear the alcohol out of your system before it resumes normal activity. And you're worried about like whether or not your vegetables have been crossbred or, modified in a certain way.
And then the same tone is like, at the grocery store being super concerned with these things, with organic, with all everything in that category, and then stopping three times a week at a fast food restaurant.
Yeah. Like I'm eating a Frosty and eating GMO free apples.
I mean, like worrying about it at the grocery store, but not worrying about it. You don't think about it when you're stopping at Taco Bell. You don't know where that stuff came from. Yeah,
that's a great point. Excuse me, is this square hamburger non-GMO?
All right, go on.
Am I reading this next one?
You're reading all of them.
I'm reading all of them. Okay. So overrated or underrated? Trader Joe's.
Ooh.
What do you think?
I think it's very underrated.
Yep, for sure.
Am I doing this right? Underrated means I like it.
Yeah, you're doing it right.
This is the first underrated, overrated
I'll wait till the end to tell you if you did it right.
All right. I like Trader Joe's.
What do you like about Trader Joe's,
Not because of the specialty items they have there, not because of it's a very cute looking store, not because of all that. It's because it's like, I would consider it a business of excellence. These people care about you. They care about your groceries, or at least they act like it. Like, you get such a good cashier experience at Trader Joe's. They talk to you. They talk about what you're buying. They care about how they're bagging your groceries. It's such a different experience than the bigger supermarkets where they're throwing your stuff down a conveyor belt and they're just rambling to each other and they're throwing your stuff in a bag as quick as they can. And that's what I love about Trader Joe's, is they care at the checkout.
Yeah. I think I was listening to a podcast one time. It was maybe like not how it's made, but anyway, They were talking about the history of Trader Joe's. And I think that they were going over their hiring practice, and they definitely hire based on personality. They want people who are inquisitive, that have the whatever the Enneagram type is for caring about people and wanting to know about their day, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Versus how good are they at the actual job, because that's a trainable thing.
Oh, yeah,
you can't train somebody's personality.
Yeah. And maybe people don't want to be talked to at the cash register, but it really is such a great experience with how they treat your groceries. And really, that's what matters to me, is that you don't come home with a bag of mush of, everything's on top of each other.
It gives me a good chance to use like my bad jokes too.
Oh gosh.
How was your day today?
Please don't.
Or the only question I don't like getting is, what are you guys doing today? I'm like, well, I'm grocery shopping at 2:00 in the afternoon. What?
Are they like, what are you doing after this?
I'm climbing Everest after this. It always makes me feel super lame that I'm just
back to work.
We're working and grocery shopping. That's what we're doing. When we were in Boise, we would, maybe we had hiked somewhere that day also or gone skiing.
No, we didn't.
But let's not discount the fact that the food at Trader Joe's is killer. Also, they have some cool foods, and the prices are really good too.
Yeah, the price for sure beats. I think even the H-E-B's and the Albertsons and stuff. Yeah. I'm ready to get back to a Trader Joe's. We just moved here, and we got to go into Austin to get to one.
Yeah.
So we need to like make a day in our schedule where we're hitting up the Trader Joe's once a week.
Hey, Christina, if you're listening to this, can you schedule in
a Trader Joe's run? That's going to be a little longer than it used to be in Boise.
Yeah. Okay, moving on.
Wait, you didn't answer.
Oh, it's completely underrated for sure. Yeah. I think people they want to be anti-Trader Joe's, but they've never actually been. It's like they're just anti-hipster. All right, moving on. We have overrated or underrated NOBULL brand clothing and shoes.
There we go. Underrated.
I put this one in just for Blakely.
Underrated.
Why do you like NOBULL so much?
I hope that their prices don't go overrated, but
Boom, boom.
I like the quality of their product. I think we talked about this before. Like, you had a shoe fall apart. Like the owner of the company emailed you back. This was back in the start, and was like, all right, send them in. And then they didn't even make you send the other ones back. They just sent you a new pair. I think they just make a great product. I don't think I've ever gotten anything that I don't like. They just started making socks, and those socks are incredible. I've really been on a hunt for some socks that don't slip down in my shoes, and these are the ones. I have one pair, and honestly, I'll wear them I keep them in the gym. I'll wear them 4 times in a row before I wash them because I don't want to be without them.
Don't admit that. I just realized I'm wearing a NOBULL t-shirt and NOBULL shorts also.
Because they're comfortable.
Yeah. If we release the video version of this, you'll see it. I guess I'll say the clothing is underrated and the shoes are overrated.
Oh.
I don't like the shoes that much, honestly. I've had a lot of pairs.
You have really flat feet.
I don't know if that's it or what, but I've had a couple pair of their running shoes. I felt like they didn't last very long. And that's just kind of like the style of these new shoes that are coming out, with the uppers are super fabricy and soft, and I guess they're supposed to look good, but they didn't last. And the training shoes just don't fit my feet very well, and I don't think they look good with short socks. And I like to have my shoes look good.
Yeah,
I wear long socks a lot too, but
I'll agree that the plain colored shoes don't look that great on your feet. You have a pretty large shoe size, and
I wear a 15.
And it does look a little bit
boatish,
weird. So
maybe you skiing?
Should stick with some shoes with a little, like a Nike or something that has more stuff going on the uppers.
Yeah, that's why lately I've been wearing these bright yellow shoes, so I don't
draw
so much attention.
Just this weekend, I was like, "Can you order yourself some new shoes? I can't take looking at these yellow shoes anymore."
I think you bought these for me. Anyway, all right. So that's how I feel about that.
Right.
Okay, overrated or underrated? Overhead squats. If anybody doesn't know what an overhead squat is, you take a barbell with a wide grip. You hoist it up over your head and you squat with your hips below your knees, just like a back squat. But the bar supposedly remains over the middle of your foot.
Supposedly it does.
You're going to fall over, and you squat down with it over your head.
So I don't put these in our training because we have people that use both barbells and dumbbells. And while you can do this with a dumbbell, it would be like a single arm. You're not getting the full effect of the movement if you don't have a barbell. So that's why I don't put it in. But I do think that it is an underrated movement because of the exposure that it shows you on your form. You have to have your squat form dialed in, you have to have your core tight, and you have to have a certain amount of flexibility to enable to perform this movement correctly. And if you have anything going wrong, it exposes all of this. So it's really, I mean, you can do this with a PVC or a broomstick over your head, and if you have any balance issues or flexibility issues, that will be exposed even with something with no weight.
Yeah.
So I think it's a great movement. I wish I could program it more but I just don't have anything, a substitute. If you don't have a barbell, that's really good.
Yeah, this is probably a move that's more difficult to coach somebody over online versus in person.
And that's the other part is, like, we did them a ton in my gym, but if I can't see you, I would want to see you before you perform this with any kind of weight.
So I agree with all those things that you said, but for those reasons, I'm going to say it's an overrated exercise.
Why, sir?
Because it's more of like a screening tool. Like you said, it exposes shoulder flexibility issues, thoracic spine flexibility issues, poor squat form. But that's really, I mean, unless you're an Olympic athlete who is doing snatches and needs to be able to stand up from a heavy overhead squat position, I don't think it has a lot of benefit from a training side. So I would say it's an overrated exercise, and use it as like a screening tool only.
I don't think it's a screening tool. I'm going to have to disagree with you. I'm going to put this on the sickness, wellness, fitness chart made by CrossFit to put this movement on there. And so say like you, Jonathan, are at the point where you can overhead squat 135 pounds. You have gotten yourself pretty far into that fitness category, and you can do this for reps, and you can do this, under fatigue in a workout. So if you start to like lose some mobility, something happens and you fall back, look how fit you are. If you have the abilities to overhead squat 135 pounds. If we're struggling to do an air squat, where are we on that chart? That's kind of where I compare it.
I get where you're coming from. Agree to disagree.
What? I didn't convince you?
Nope. It takes a lot more than that to convince me. But those are good points. All right.
We'll come back to that one.
She didn't like that answer.
I didn't.
All right. Underrated or overrated? Direct ab training. So this is like doing exercises in your training, training meaning like you're trying to get better at it, just directly on your abs.
Well, I think this is a two-sided one to me.
Okay.
Like both sides, because I think that sometimes people overly think that they have to overly train their abs. Like I have to be doing abs every day to train my abs. If they're also doing like, say they're doing the body program.
Like they want to do more abs on top of that?
Yeah, more abs on top of that.
Like I did your workout and then did the 1,000 sit-ups.
Yeah. So I think there's like a certain person that thinks that they have to be training their abs every day, when a lot of the things that we do, like the overhead squat, like other things, train your abs. But I also think that just saying like, oh, I'm overhead squatting, or I'm strength training, I'm doing CrossFit, I'm doing whatever, I don't really need to do ab training. I think that is a false also. I think you need to add some ab training in there.
So is it overrated or underrated? Direct ab training.
Direct ab training.
You want to think about it while I answer?
Well, that's what I said. It's kind of two-sided. I think you should do it. But I don't think you have to do it every day.
Okay.
So I guess I'm not sure which one to pick.
You're on the fence on that one. I'm going to definitely say it is underrated.
Underrated.
Yeah. But that also, I'm skewed because like I come from the background of where we've come from. I mean, I'm not going to go into
Florida?
our entire background. Yeah. Like in the circles that we travel in, like both like the strength training circle and the CrossFit circle, we don't really travel in or hang out in bodybuilding circles. You hear a lot like, you don't need to train your abs. If you're squatting heavy, if you're deadlifting heavy, you're engaging your abs, you don't need to do anything else for your abs. And for that reason, I say that makes it underrated, and that you can get benefit from directly training your abs also, especially if you have aesthetic goals and want to eventually see your abs as your body fat goes down. Your abs are just like any other muscle. If you train them progressively harder, do exercises that make your abs grow a little bit, you will be able to see them sooner at higher body fat levels than if you didn't train them at all and you just relied on your squats, deadlifts, and presses to
Yeah.
strengthen your abs. So for that reason, I think you should do direct ab training, both to increase the strength of your abs, but also for the visual effects that you can eventually get of seeing them as you get leaner and leaner.
The stronger your abs are, not anything to do with being able to see them, but the stronger your abs are, the more protected you're going to be, the more like you're going to have the ability to like support yourself in a load.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen Rich Froning's abs?
It's
widely known that he does like 1,000 GHD setups a week or something, something crazy like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if it's just, if that's saying, like you said, oh, if you're strength training, if you're doing CrossFit, you don't need to train your abs, that's false, because I think all those people who are high level for sure are training their abs.
Yeah. Like you don't need to train your abs, and then they're training them like crazy. If y'all hear in the background this noise, we're sorry. We got all kinds of work going on over here at the estate.
It hasn't stopped
cutting
since
siding
we moved
and
here.
they're painting and digging holes and who knows what. But anyway, we're in our hashtag studio, but we don't have that much control over the outside noise. So sorry if you hear that. Okay, moving on. Overrated or underrated pre-workout? These are drinks.
Yeah.
What's a pre-workout drink?
Pre-workout, I mean, they can be different. They can have a pre-workout drink can have different uses. Some can be like a caffeine drink to give you energy before your workout. Some can have like stuff like creatine and beta alanine in them. I'm sure some of them are like to give you carbs, a giant burst of carbs before you work out. Some of them probably have some protein in them.
There's a wide variety.
There is a wide variety. So I would say, like, if you're like thinking about pre-workouts, then like think about what you want out of your pre-workout. But I like a pre-workout. I like a caffeine pre-workout.
So you would say they are
underrated.
underrated. Oh, let me make you a cheat sheet.
Underrated.
All right, underrated.
Because because I like to have the caffeine one, but I also think, for me personally, there's something like on the mental side of taking a pre-workout, because I'll start to drink my pre-workout and I think I could drink a placebo without caffeine. And if I had that flavor, I would feel ready to work out. I think it would be hard to, like, cause we're sitting here, we're working at the desk and I'm like, I'll look over at Jonathan and be like, I'm drinking my pre-workout.
It's almost go time.
Get ready. 30 minutes. We're going, and I, I'm starting to get energized. Of course, it does have some caffeine in it, but I think even if I had something with just that flavor, I would feel ready. It would be hard to just get up from the desk, walk out to the gym and be like, let's go. Like it gives me that like mental cue that I'm about to work out.
Yeah, I like that. I would agree. I think it's underrated. Yeah, I like it for the caffeine effect also. And I mean, it doesn't matter what you choose. Like, something in the 150 milligrams of caffeine is definitely enough to get you going. That's like a strong cup of coffee or an energy drink. Most pre-workouts have about that much caffeine in them.
Yeah. And I guess at the same point, I don't like drink mine completely before we work out. I drink mine throughout the workout. So I'm not getting like a heavy dose of caffeine right before I work out. Maybe I'm using it wrong, but I just sip on it and I'll be still drinking it probably by the time I'm finished working out. Like just have a little bit left.
It's your pre/intra workout.
What do you use?
Well, right now I've been drinking Monsters as my pre-workout. That's 150 milligrams of caffeine.
It's basically like drinking a Coca-Cola.
It is not like anything like drinking a Coca-Cola. It's not. I mean, you can go read the ingredient list if you want, but first off, a Coke has a minuscule amount of caffeine compared to a pre-workout or an energy drink. I just like the way they taste, and it's a small percent.
I like the way ice cream tastes, but I don't use that as a pre-workout.
It's a small percentage of my daily calories, and I don't tell our clients that they shouldn't drink energy drinks. Now, I mean, if you're crushing 3 or 4 of these things a day, and it's a substantial amount of your calories, or it's making you over consume calories or caffeine in general, and your nutrition stinks outside of the energy drinks, then we need to talk about that. But
I wouldn't consider those a pre-workout.
Well, then you don't have to drink them. Save them for me.
I don't drink them. Never had one.
Yeah, I would hate to see you on a Monster.
What's the caffeine? Is
150, same as
what I'm drinking. Yeah.
But like you said, there's a mental thing to it also. Plus, I've been drinking them on and off for years.
Your body's used to the chemicals.
Yeah, I thrive on the chemicals.
So
all right.
Wrong.
Overall, I would say you ain't tried a pre-workout, give it a try. Buckle up for the ride. And if you have a question about a specific one, send us a message.
Yeah, and I would be
evaluate
careful with like what you're getting in your pre-workout. Like the ones with like beta alanine will give you like a feeling like, I don't take these, Jonathan used to, but like that your skin is itching, that your head is itching and stuff like that. So definitely like be careful with these type of things if you've never used one, or actually, read the ingredients list and know exactly what you're getting.
Yeah, try a sample if you can before you buy the whole container.
I recommend the Ascent brand pre-workout. They make a protein powder and a pre-workout. You can even get them at Whole Foods, maybe even some other grocery stores now, but that's the one I love. Flavors are great. It doesn't make you feel weird.
It's got a few grams of carbs in there too to give you a little bit more energy also. I like that one too. Honestly, like I don't like paying. I think it's too expensive. So that's one of the reasons I don't use it. I'm cheap. It's like
$34 for the bag.
It's like $3 a serving, something like that. I calculated it out. And it's just getting more expensive every time we buy it, it seems like. All right, we're spent way too long on this one. Let's move on. Overrated or underrated intermittent fasting. You want me to take this one first? This is completely overrated. Anybody who has read any of our content or blogs or watched our Instagram stories probably already knew I was going to say that. But just if you don't know what it is, intermittent fasting is just time restricted eating. You give yourself a window of hours during the day that you eat, and then you don't eat the other hours. So what this can do is make you under-eat calories for the whole day just because you spent less time eating. If you skip breakfast, there might go like 500-600 calories that you normally would have had during the day. And if it does cause fat loss in somebody, it's because they weren't able to make up for those calories that they didn't eat during breakfast during their feeding window, and they netted across the day less calories than normal. So that's why if it causes fat loss, it's because the restriction of time just caused you to eat less calories overall. And the reason I think it's overrated is because it's not necessary for fat loss. You could do the same thing just by reducing the number of calories you eat across the day. And because it's generally not a sustainable thing for somebody. So if they create a calorie deficit for an extended time and they lose fat with this strategy, but they can't maintain it, and they go back to eating during all hours of the day, they're pretty quickly going to regain the weight that they lost. And they didn't learn anything about nutrition in the process. There's other discussions we could have about its benefits as far as like from a cognitive side and like a training side. But all in all, for the general population, it's a completely overblown, overrated method of eating. Womp womp.
I agree. I mean, any of these things that are not sustainable to me are in the overrated category because of like what you said. You can have the best of intentions and think like I have no plans for the next 6 months. I'm not going anywhere. I've got no vacations planned. So I'm going to dial this in and do intermittent fasting or whatever it is. And then, something comes up, you get invited somewhere, you go on a weekend somewhere, it's somebody's birthday, all these little disruptions take you away from what you're doing, and like you're not learning anything, like you said, in the process. You're not actually learning a sustainable way to eat within a lifestyle. And most people's lifestyle includes disruptions in their schedule, going places, going to restaurants, getting invited places with people, and all of these things get in the way of these plans with strict rules.
Some people even take this to the extreme and do 2 days of fasting and then 5 days of eating per week. Whew. You imagine?
I mean, I've heard people say they have good, it takes it, like you feel awful in the beginning of doing these type of things, but then they have a good outcome. But then, you go somewhere and you can't. Yeah,
you check back with them a year later.
Yeah.
Are you still doing it? No.
Couldn't maintain that. Yeah.
Yeah. I have a good article I wrote on the blog about this, about how to transition off of intermittent fasting if you've ever been doing it. I will put a link to that in the show notes. Just a recap for everybody listening. If you don't know what show notes are, like I used to, if you go to the page where your play button is, where you're listening to this, and you scroll down, there's a bunch of text that we get to put in there. Those are the show notes. All right, moving on. Overrated or underrated, a greens supplement?
I would say overrated. Did I do that one right?
Nailed it. Yeah.
Eat real greens.
Eat some real greens.
Some real greens.
I promise you that a greens supplement is not the answer. If if you need to lose a bunch of weight, if you're just trying to improve your health, I promise you, just adding a green supplement isn't going to move the needle. Really, for like all the reasons that I said earlier in the GMO foods thing. Like, why do we eat greens in general? We eat them for the micronutrients and for the fiber. Those should just be part of your regular diet. A diverse diet full of 5 to 7 servings of fruits and vegetables per day, with a mixture of colors throughout that, eaten consistently over the course of the month. You're going to have all of your micronutrients covered, and you're going to get plenty of fiber between those and berries and the whole grains that you eat. You know, you don't get the same fiber benefit from a powdered supplement as you do from eating real food, both on like the nutritional aspect and on the like lifestyle perspective of like just dumping a powder in your food versus getting to chew it, get the water out of the fruits and vegetables, all that good stuff. The benefit is in eating real food. Now, if you absolutely cannot eat vegetables and you're micronutrient deficient because of it, and you have been, like your doctor has said, you need to start getting these things in your diet, then use a greens supplement. But that's what it is. It's a supplement. Don't go straight for a supplement before you figure out if you can do it with regular food. And we have a long article on supplements, and I talk about green supplements as being a beneficial supplement, but for those reasons that I just said. If you've already tried the real route and you can't make it happen, you've given it a real try.
A real try. That's what I was going to say. A real try. Not like I tried a vegetable and I didn't like it. Like, try some varieties of different vegetables and fruits and find some that you like.
Yeah. And
as adults, we can eat vegetables.
Yes. And then we're not talking about just eating them raw either. Find ways to cook them too.
Yeah.
You got to take some of the responsibility for making this happen. All right. Last one.
Okay.
Overrated or underrated? Boise, Idaho. I threw this one in. The client didn't say this one.
Oh, man.
What do you think? I mean, just think of like the average person who hears about Boise, Idaho.
Well, okay. So I guess it depends on where you are from, because I think that there's a lot of people that are moving to Boise, Idaho right now, like crazy. So I think that it could be overrated.
Ooh.
Because people are flocking there. I mean, you can't buy a house there.
I can't get a sublet.
I can't get
an apartment. Nothing.
Before we moved there, I would say it was very underrated. I never, and all of the people that visited us, I would say probably would have thought the same thing. Never would have thought Idaho would have been so cool. Would have been like such a good overall climate throughout the year. Would have been such a like cool and hip city. Would have had so many different things to do. Would have been such an easy city to live in. Like, you know, everything you want is within 10 minutes of your reach. So I would definitely say underrated, but I think it's getting to that overrated part, because there is just like people from like California, Washington, Oregon are just like flocking there. So if you're from those 3 states, you probably already know about Boise, Idaho, and you're like, it's so overrated. But
yeah, I guess I agree with all that. Overall, I would probably say it's still underrated because there aren't, I mean, I have limited experience in living different places, but I don't think there's a lot of places like that have the mixture of climate, all those things you said with lifestyle.
I think one fact about Boise that people don't think, because my friends would text me and be like, aren't you freezing? It gets pretty darn hot in the summer. Like, I'm talking well into the 90s, like
over 100.
Like, yeah. And then like we were doing like, we were riding a stand-up paddleboard, and my friend was like, aren't you freezing? And I'm like, no, it's like 98 degrees outside, you know, so it snows and it gets well over the 90s there. So I think that is one of those things that makes it a pretty unique place.
Yeah, they definitely get
so
all
hot.
the seasons.
Yeah.
It's just that the cold season is so much longer than the other seasons.
I was just thinking about that today, because I had to go out today, and I'm wearing a long sleeve still because it was, you know, it's still like in the 50s here in Texas even. And like, I'm like, when is it ever, I mean, I don't, you know, once it gets hot here, it is hot, but it's just like, it's still fairly chilly. And I feel like I've been chilly for like so long now, but I think it's because we just moved from Boise where it got cold. Like, yeah. I don't even know when it gets cold, like September. So it's been cold since September for me, you know, Anyway.
True. That's a good point. We like to keep y'all abreast of the weather wherever we are. You already know that from previous episodes.
Speaking of the weather, we had a very scary.
Yeah.
Oh, this is another cool fact about Boise that makes it very underrated.
Huh.
Never thunders or lightnings there. Like, I mean, it's a very rare thing. And there was just the craziest thunder and like lightning storm here. And I was like, I don't miss this.
Last night she's talking about.
Yeah, I do not miss lightning and thunderstorms because we went a whole like 2 years without having seen or heard thunder.
Yeah, we probably lost a good hour and a half of sleep last night to that nonsense.
Yeah.
We had to go sleep on the couch.
Well, they kept, I was watching the weather on my phone, and it was saying that there was like spiraling winds, and there actually was a tornado in a city near here. So, I mean,
We got away from the windows.
Yeah, it was lightning like I've never seen before.
It was crazy. I mean,
it was just like
I was looking out.
lightning.
I thought there was a light fixture on the outside of the house that was shorted because it was just constantly flashing.
Usually lightning is like one flash and then you hear the thunder and then that's it. It was just like the sky was like, it was like daytime. It was just like lightning constantly. I don't know what kind of lightning that is, but
well, we'll look it up.
I didn't like it.
Y'all stay tuned next week. We're going to do some lightning research. We'll lead the show with it. All right, so that wraps up this episode of Overrated and Underrated. I really enjoyed that. I hope you guys did too.
Can we look up if Monster's owned by the Coca-Cola company? And I'll report that back.
Report that back. Okay. So next week, Lightning and Monster. Stay tuned for that. Real quick on the announcement front, if you're listening to this on the day that it comes out, Wednesday, the something or other.
24th.
The 24th. Registration for the April group of Digital Barbell Body and Digital Barbell Built with Dumbbells opens to our email subscribers on Saturday. Again, both groups are limited to 10 people per month. So email subscribers get first crack at it and they also get a discount. I'll put a link in the show notes to how you can make sure you're signed up for that. Regular registration opens to the general public on Monday. I mean, the results people are getting in these programs is just ridiculous. Like, especially the people who are interactive and just really take advantage of the energy that Blakely pours into the coaching, and the ones who take advantage of the free month of nutrition coaching. It's ridiculous. I remember, I'll even say her name. Rachel.
No.
Rachel messaged me after just 2 weeks of her first month of body that she started in this last round. And she's like, I should have saved the quote, but she's like, I cannot believe how much better I feel after just 2 weeks of, dedicating to this process. I mean,
she's been working hard.
2 weeks is a quick turnaround to really start seeing.
Just to feel a difference.
Yeah. So
that's great. And it's the hard work that she's been putting in.
Yeah. She's killing it on both sides, honestly. And a lot of people are. So we would love to have you. Like I said, only 10 people per month. So we'd love for y'all to jump in if it sounds interesting to you.
And by saying interactive, for those of you that are in these programs, what he means is just like continuing to like input your results, continuing to send videos. Like I, require video check-ins every so often, but then like I leave it up to you guys. But the more videos you send in, the better I can help coach you. I'm not going to say every time you work out, you have to video your entire workout and send it to me, but just, regular check-ins, like send me your squats every once in a while, send me your RDLs, whatever movements
your conditioning.
Yeah. Send me your conditioning so I can make sure that intensity looks right, and I'll need to drop reminders every once in a while to let people know this, but that's really the way to get the most out of this, and entering your results and looking back at your results each time you work out to make sure that you are increasing. Yeah. Those are all the ways to get the most out of these programs.
Use that exercise history button in your True Coach app.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, this was a fun episode. Maybe we'll do it again in the not so distant future. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll check you out on the next episode.
All right.